Once upon a time, in a beautiful kingdom known for its beauty, its culture, its people, its traditions, and their way of life. A kingdom known for its power and its territory, always winning in every battle, and a fear to other villages and kingdoms around it. The Zoma Kingdom. One of the kingdoms they defeated and conquered was the Abele Kingdom. They captured the people of Abele Kingdom, took them as captive to the Zoma Kingdom, made them slaves and servants. The people of Abele Kingdom worked as slaves for the Zoma Kingdom. They were abused, intimidated, humiliated, and stigmatized. No one from the Abele Kingdom could come out and stand and defend themselves. They lived under fear of the unknown. 30 years after the defeat of the Abele Kingdom, a beautiful girl named Urima went to fetch water from the stream with her friends Oge and Akudo. They saw an old man walking towards them. He begged them for some water to drink. Oge and Akudo refused to give the old man water. They insulted him, called him all sorts of names, and left him. Urima was not happy with the way her friends treated the old man. She decided to give the old man some water to drink. Oge got angry with Urima for giving the old man some water to drink after she and Akudo refused. Oge called Urima an outcast and she does not belong to their kingdom and can never be from their kingdom. Urima was so surprised because no one has called her an outcast apart from her friends Oge and Akudo. They always made her feel like a stranger among them. This kept bothering her. She decided to seek for answers to everything. One day, she was so sad and lost in thought. Her mother, watching her, asked her what was she thinking about and why was she sad. Urema told her mother that her friends always call her an outcast and she don't understand why, and it keeps bothering her. When her mother heard what she said, her mother was shocked. Her mother could not believe that her daughter was going through all this. She was so scared. Seeing her mother's expression, she knew there was something wrong and she needed to know why and what was really happening. Her mother told her the story of how their kingdom, the Abele Kingdom, was destroyed and defeated by the Zome Kingdom for a little offense they committed. How their warriors were killed and how they were captured and were made slaves to the Zoma people. And ever since then, they have lived with the Zoma people in fear. Urima's mother told Urima to stay away from her friends and be careful with them. Urima promised her mom she would stay away from her friends and have nothing to do with them from that day on. In the palace, the king was talking to the prince, Prince Obina, who just returned from a faraway civilized kingdom and was dining with the king and his chiefs. The king told him how the kingdom has developed since he left for a civilized kingdom and how there have been no battle since the kingdoms are all at peace. The chiefs reminded the king to inform the prince about choosing a bride for himself. The king then informed Prince Obina, "Since you are back, we need to plan and organize the ceremony for the next market day, where all the maidens who were still virgins would dance and you would pick your bride. Obinna reluctantly agreed, just to make the king, his father, happy. The information about the ceremony went round the kingdom. In no time, every maiden were aware. They all began to prepare themselves and see themselves as the next brides to the prince. Urema had this information. She was sad and felt left out of the excitement. She wanted to be a part of the dancers just for the fun of it, but she could not because she was an outcast. It was a taboo for the maidens or people of Abela to be seen around the ceremony or to dance with the maidens at the ceremony. Urema's mother advised Urema not to go so that nothing would happen to her. The king, the prince, the chiefs were all seated. The people of Zoma Kingdom were gathered round to watch the dance. The ceremony started with the chief priest opening the floor with prayers and spiritual dance. Then the maidens lined up in beautiful traditional clothes as they came forward to dance before the king, the prince, the chiefs, and the people of Zoma Kingdom. Oge and the friends were among the maidens. They all took turns to dance. When it got to Oge's turn, the prince signaled to the king and pointed at Oge. The king stopped the dance and announced to the people that the prince has chosen Oge as his bride. The other maidens were so jealous and disappointed. Oge was accompanied to the palace by the guards as all the women of Zoma Kingdom danced around her. She was taken to the prince's chamber to stay and wait for the prince. The prince was supposed to be intimate with her as customs demands it, but he insisted he wanted them to get to know each other better before they can get intimate. Oge was so scared because she knew she was not a virgin, and it was a taboo for anyone who was not a virgin to take part of the dance. She knew she was in trouble. She decided to go meet her friends and seek for advice on what she could do. Her friends advised her to lure one of the guards into her chamber in the palace and lied that he forced himself on her. She agreed with the plans. Before she could work on the plans, that night at the palace, the prince decided to meet his new bride and be intimate with her. He then found out that she was not a virgin. He was so angry. She had lied not just to him, but to the whole kingdom. She deceived everyone. The king was informed about this, and immediately Oge was chased out of the palace. As the custom says, she must not get married to anyone because she has done a forbidden thing. She brought shame to herself and her family. On a fateful day, Prince Obinna decided to take a walk around the kingdom. On his way, he saw Urema walking toward the farmland. He went up to her and started a conversation with her. She never knew he was the prince of Zoma Kingdom. He hid his identity from her. He accompanied her to her family's farmland and helped her with some work on the farm. As they worked on the farm together, they talked and laughed. Urema's mother decided to join Urema on the farm to assist her. Getting to the farm, she saw the prince of Zoma Kingdom working on the farm with her daughter. She ran to the prince, Prince Obinna, and begged him to stop what he was doing. She knelt down and begged him. She shouted at Urema for allowing the prince to work on the farm with her. Urema was shocked and speechless. She was confused. She stared at Prince Obinna to seek answer and to be sure he was the prince of Zuma Kingdom. Obinna told her that he was Prince Obinna and the prince of Zuma Kingdom. Urema, hearing this, knelt down and begged him to forgive her. She never knew he was the prince. The prince told her that he knew her. He was the one who dressed as an old man close to the stream that she gave water to drink. Ever since then, he has been looking for her. Prince Obinna instructed Urema to come to the palace the next day. Urema was scared. She did not know what to do. She was an outcast. She was not supposed to go near the palace. She decided not to go to the palace. The prince was angry and sent his guards to get Urema to the palace. Urema had no choice but to follow the guards to the palace. Obinna, the prince, introduced Urema to the king. The king was happy to see her. He welcomed her. He told Urema to feel free and see the palace as her home. But as soon as Urema settled down in the palace, news began to spread around the kingdom that Prince Obinna chose Urema, who was an outcast, as his bride, and took her to the palace, which was a taboo. The chiefs and elders of Zuma Kingdom went to the palace to confirm the information. Urema was called by the king, who could not believe this. Urema had to open up to the king. She told the king she was from Abele Kingdom. The king was furious and filled with wrath towards Urema. The king ordered his guards to take Urema out of the palace. Urema got home in tears. She was humiliated and treated badly. Her mother tried to console her and comfort her. When all this happened, Prince Obinna was not in the palace. Getting to the palace, he asked the guards about Urema. He was told that Urema was chased out of the palace because she was an outcast. Prince Obinna went to the king and confronted the king. Prince Obinna told the king Urema was the maiden he has chosen as his bride. Wherever village or kingdom she comes from does not matter. Prince Obinna left the king out of anger. He immediately went with his guards to Urema's house. He met Urema's mother. He begged to see Urema, but her mother refused to allow him come close to her. She was angry with the prince for what her daughter went through in the palace. The prince never gave up. He never stopped going to Urema's house. He promised Urema's mother he would not stop coming until he sees Urema. One day, Prince Obinna went to Urema's house. He promised not to leave until he sees her. Urema, who was inside the house, came out after listening to what Prince Obinna said. Prince Obinna apologized to her. He begged her to forgive him, assuring her that he loves her and no one, not even the king, can stop him from getting married to her. Oge, who the prince rejected because she was not a virgin, was so angry. She said to herself, "Why must it be Urema?" Oge promised herself if she can't get the prince, no one else would get him. Her hatred for Urema increased because Prince Obinna chose Urema as his bride, and he was ready to fight for her. She was ready to do anything to destroy Urema. She conspired with some villagers to set Urema up. Her plans for setting her up with the villagers failed. She decided to get very close to Urima and become a friend again to gain her trust. She apologized to Urima and promised to be a good friend to her. She pretended that she had changed. She did all this to gain her trust so as to set a trap for her and destroy her. Urema forgave Oge and took her back as her friend. Urema told Oge what has been happening between her and the prince, how the prince has been nice to her and the family, all the good things the prince got for her and the family. She cannot wait to be the wife of the prince. Oge was filled with jealousy towards Urima. She pretended to be happy for her. Oge promised to make Urima's life a living hell. She said to herself she must do something fast before Urima becomes the wife of Prince Obinna. One day, Oge called Urima to accompany her to the stream. Urima followed Oge. On their way to the stream, there was a cliff at one side of the stream. Oge moved toward the cliff, holding Urima by the end. They both stood at the edge of the cliff. After Oge distracted Urima, Oge took a big stone and hit Urima very hard at the back of her head. Urima lost her balance and fell off the cliff down to the stream. Oge made sure that Urima was not moving. Urima's body was carried away by the stream. Oge made sure Urima's body was out of sight before leaving the stream.